I think in any game, whether it's in the Super League or NRL or international, I think sin binning is going to have an impact on the game. As an average across the NRL, I can't quote the Super League, but sin binning is generally 2 tries against. So, it's pretty crucial.
Do you think it was a fair sin binning, or were you not sure about it?
What do you think?
I thought it was harsh. That's the answer, is it?
Yeah, I thought that it was falling. At first, I thought it was for a crusher tackle, which I thought was, maybe I couldn't see it properly. But I asked Junior just then. I wanted to make sure I had the correct information, and I asked Junior why he was sin binned, and he was told that he was sin binned for a high tackle. So a high tackle that made impact. He made impact with the player with his hip, not with his arm. The contact was his hip on the opposition player's head. Now, I understand that we need to take care across the game, and we're trying to remove head contact, but accidental, incidental contact that has no malice in it, I haven't seen that being sin binned in the past.
Referees seem to be saying on the commentary that it was the 4th incident already in the game, that he was maybe a sort of a totting up procedure.
The 4th incident with hitting someone in the head with their hip.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if whether he was saying that was just the fourth such tackle, fourth such contact in the game.
Every single thing in the game needs to be added up on its own value and its own merits. Like, it's different if it's 4 people offside for 10 metres, or it's 4 people lying in the ruck. Like, that's understandable. I get that, but I think that a freak incident like that, and that's what it was. It was a freak incident. Like, I don't know how many times in the game players make contact with the hip on purpose. So, freak incident like that, I think that Junior was, he should have been given the benefit of the doubt. And the other thing that was interesting out of it is, like, you could understand that if the player from the opposition team had to go off the field, but the player basically got up after the incident and played on, no problem at all. So it's, you guys can make your own judgment about it, like the gentleman at the back did. But I haven't seen anything like that happen in the past, and definitely impacted the game.
It must have been disappointing for you because, after you scored the first try, I thought you'd been quite tentative before then, but after that you seemed to grow in confidence, and you were, the team was throwing the ball around looking really dangerous. But then the sin bin absolutely built up your momentum, I thought.
Yeah, well, it impacts how you play. Like, when you have a play sin bin, you've got to make positional adjustments to make sure that you can defend first of all. And I mentioned last week that, defence wins test matches at the end of the day. So when you need to change your defensive system and the principles to make sure that players can defend in a position so that we've got the edge covered, for example. Obviously it's a centre. Like, it's not just a middle that you can rotate around. It's a guy that plays like an important position. You've got to move your defensive pattern around, which also impacts your attacking pattern. And I agree with you. We're attacking fluently. Scored that nice try. We're starting to build some field position, and on the back of field position we got points. And I thought that we were looking quite good at that period of the game. And I don't want everything to be about sin bin. Like, at the end of the day, England were excellent today. Herbie Farnworth had another great game. Really dominated the game, and I don't want to take anything away from them. They were brilliant. They deserved to win. It was just a freak incident that I suppose puts a bit of a downlight on the outcome of the game.
What makes Farnworth so difficult to deal with?
Late feet. When he carries the ball, sometimes he goes to the line, sometimes he steps away from the line, so he's hard to reach, hard to step into contact. And then on the back of it, he's got a brilliant offload as well. So you're not sure whether he's going to the outside or back to the inside. And then on the back of that, you've got to lock up an offload. And normally you've got to commit 3 to 4 players to the tackle to be able to deal with him. So that means that your defensive line is sort of all over the shop. So very, very, very good player, and he's played brilliantly over 2 weeks.
Can I just ask you about Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who I thought, showed a terrific improvement over last week and looked threatening frequently when he had the ball?
Oh, you want me to comment on him? Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I thought the question was still going. I actually I agree with you completely about today. Probably disagree with you a bit about last week. I thought he was very good last week. I don't think dropping a bomb should be a low light on the game and make him had a bad game. I thought last week he was brilliant as well. I thought you talk about Herbie Farnworth being hard to tackle. I think Roger Tuivasa-Sheck can be put into that same category. I think that the English defenders would be having nightmares about Roger as much as what we were about Herbie. So, I thought he was very, very good today. I thought he was hard to tackle. Thought he moved our defensive line a lot better than what he did last week. And, that's something that we spoke about and worked on during the week. Obviously put a lot more pressure on their attack and, made it a better game for the early part of the game, obviously until we had to adjust our numbers and stuff due to the sin bin. So, I thought he was brilliant and definitely heading in the right direction. We've got to remember he's played maybe fullback 3 times this year in the NRL, so it was always going to take him a little while to get going. But I thought he was good last week, and I thought he was better this week. Yeah.
There was a ton of tackling in the first half. How encouraging was it the way you came back in the second half and shared the blame?
Yeah, very, very encouraging. We thought that the fact that they took the 2 points early in the game, we thought that was a really good indication that we were defending well. We were hard to score against early in the game, whereas last week we weren't. We gave up those 3 early tries. I spoke last week about giving penalties away and then being able to defend them. We gave a couple of penalties away and we were able to defend them. And as a result of that, you sort of get into the mindset of the opposition, and because you're in a solider defensive performance, they choose to take 2 points. And I thought that was a real indicator that our defence was on today, and we did a much better job with that. So, then going into the second half on the back of it, that gave us confidence that we felt if we could just get our share of the ball in the second half, we could find our way back into the game. Because so much defence in the first half. I sort of said to the guys at halftime, the amount of ball the opposition's had, I think we had 5 completed sets or 6 completed sets out of 12, which is not good enough. And they'd had, I think it was 20 out of 22. So we'd had 5 sets, they'd had 20. To be able to defend and it just be 24-6, or 22-6, that's a pretty fair indication that we're doing a reasonable job with our defence. We just needed to have more ball. And as I said to the guys at halftime, if we complete well early in the half for the second half, it would get us back into the game, which it did. But fatigue just got hold of us at the end of the game.
The Seaver was a little different this week. Was there a story behind that or a reason behind that?
No, not really. No, just, it was still intense. We went after it the way that we wanted to go after it. We just made some adjustments on where we stood. That was it.
Why were the adjustments made?
For a number of reasons. Last week we sort of expected that England would stand on the 40. Then we saw that they stood on the 50. So, we knew that they'd stand on the 50 this week, so we just moved ourselves back. I don't really want to go into the full detail of why. It wouldn't be fair on some of the players.
So how much do you think you've improved from last year's Pacific Championship?
It's hard to say. It's a very different group. I think that our system and principles on the field have improved. I think that the way that the camp went has improved, which is a real testament to my staff, assistant coaches, medical staff. I think that we've had some major improvements there, which is sort of part of our journey as a group. And then some of that's transferred onto the field, but again, it's hard. We've had a number of debutants again across this tour, so part of what we wanted to do over a 4-year period was to become super professional and elite off the field, start moving that into being on the field, build a bigger talent or bigger pool of players that could play internationals. And then if we could build that pool of players, we had more players to select from once we sort of got into the World Cup. And again, we've done that. I think we had 9 or 10 debutants this tour. Last year we had 9 debutants. That's 19 new players that can potentially play for Samoa. That's a good thing. The bad thing about it is you've got to debut more players. It's not easy to go out and play your first test match. And You know, I know you guys would understand, like, you know, we've got the national anthem, we've got the Civital, like that's all part of our process, learning that. So that's part of a thing that a debutant has to deal with that they don't have to deal with in the Super League or an NRL club. So there's a lot of emotion involved in it. And for our debutants last week, it was good to sort of, you know, get that game in the bank. And this week was a little bit easier emotionally to be able to go out and sort of do what we needed to do with all of those things leading into the game.
Australia are here in 12 months. Have you got any thoughts on how that might go, having looked closely at the England team obviously the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, the England team's very strong, and the Australian team, they've had a couple of, you know, one good performance, one not so good performance, probably working into it a bit like what we did in our first week. So I think it'll be a great tour. I think it'll be, you know, a strong Australian team up against a really strong English team. If this English team is the way that it goes, which I'm assuming it will be. So, you know, it should be great test matches again, similar to what these two were.
And do you know next year you're going in the Pacific Championships, or are you going to the Pacific Bowl? Or
No, we're in the Pacific Championships. So, yeah, part of the arrangement of us coming over to England was that we would return straight back into the Pacific Championships. Obviously, like a side needs to come over here, and you know, we were happy to do that, and for a number of reasons. But obviously, if we're to come over here, we need to go back into the elite level over there, which is what we're keen to do.
You must be fairly optimistic about that next year, I would think, with Australia not being in it next year. It should presumably be you, Tonga, and I would guess New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hell of a competition for you.
It's going to be the Battle of the Pacific, isn't it? You know, like, you know, Tonga and ourselves, we have a great rivalry. So, you know, we'll get to play them for the first time in a number of years, obviously since the World Cup. To be able to play New Zealand again after last year, we started that game well and didn't finish it well. So to be able to put some more players on the field like we've done this time, some elite players in this tournament, and then add to them with some of the ones that couldn't come, I think we can put a pretty good team together to be more than competitive in that tournament.
You must be hoping that Stephen Crichton doesn't get married again.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be getting married again. I think that he's very happy with his wife.
Just going back to the talent pool, mate, there was a few whispers this year about Payne Haas potentially switching his allegiance to Samoa. Any chance you reckon you could twist his arm to come put on a blue jersey?
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. Obviously, having Roger come across and Jeremiah come across and play for us, you know, that was a great step forward for us. So that's something that we'll have to look at during the year and, you know, see where Payne's at and where he is with his playing. But, you know, he definitely wouldn't be a guy that we'd say no to, that's for sure.
I asked you the other day about Daryl Mason and this transfer speculation. You weren't aware of it. Anything to add now that you probably are aware of it, whether it had any impact on him or the squad or anything like that? No,
he came out, he played really well today. He played big minutes under a fair bit of adversity from the last week. You know, you deal with something like that on the other side of the world. It's a fair challenge for a young bloke to deal with, especially when he's got his family back home. And I thought he went out there today and he did exactly what he should have done, which is play his best and put his best foot forward. And I think that that's a real testament to his character and a real testament to his upbringing, and shows that he's the type of guy that, you know, can deal with, I suppose, deal with things happening in his life and show resilience to bounce back in the best possible way, which is to perform on the footy field, which is ultimately what he's here to do.
And is everyone going to be able to report back to their clubs and fit and healthy? Isaac Tonga will be able to do that, will he?
Yeah. He's just got a bit of a sore knee, so it was bad enough that we didn't think that we should risk it. So obviously, you know, having conversations with our physios and our physios having conversations with the Panthers. So our physio, Andrew Leeds, obviously works at the Panthers, so they were able to have some conversations during the week. And it's probably an injury that, I don't know, it would be a 3 or 4 week injury at a club. So we could have pushed it, but it just wasn't worth it. From his point of view, it just would have put him at risk, and we preferably wouldn't want to do that.
Sweet, thanks everyone.